While you're inspecting a property or a deck, it wouldn't be a bad idea to check these areas out. The area where the fascia board or the deck edging, and of course this can also apply to the roof overhangs also. The problem with this is that the fascia board isn't long enough. You can see the bottom of the beams. Each one of these beams, you can see the edge, and that's normally not the case. Normally the fascia board will overhang this area by about an inch and a half. Here's a close-up view of what I'm talking about. For example, let's say that we have a 5.5 inch by, or let's just say a 6 by, which would be 5.5 inches, 6 by 12. So we got 5.5 inches and 11.5 inches. That would be a nominal sized board. That's nominal lumber. You go down and you buy a 2x4, it's going to be an inch and a half by 3.5. You buy a 2x6, it's going to be an inch and a half by 5.5. I don't know why they do that, but that's what they do. However, this is rough lumber. And rough lumber is going to be full size lumber. So if this is a 6 by 12, this measurement is going to be 6 inches. The measurement on the side will be 12 inches. So that is part of the problem here. We have rough lumber and then we have nominal lumber. Now this wood could also be resawn lumber. So in order to come up with resawn lumber, they'll take a piece of nominal sized lumber. So for example, they will take a 2x10. That's an inch and a half by 9.5 inches, and they will actually rough up or cut two of the sides. In most cases, it's only going to be two sides. And now you would end up with about an eighth of an inch less. And that's most of the time. So you would have, instead of an inch and a half, you would have an inch and 3/8. And instead of 9.5 inches on a 2x10, you would have 9 and 3/8. Now here's where the problem comes in. Sometimes you're going to have this lumber, it's going to be a little bit smaller. So you would end up with something, let's just say a 2x10. You can actually, I've seen them as small as 9 inches before. So you can imagine the problem here that the builder had. You know, they started out with the rough lumber, and then of course they used resawn lumber for the edge. Now this could actually be regular lumber. I don't see a lot of rough, you know, it's not really rough. You can see right here that this is rough, and this looks smooth. This doesn't look rough. There is another thing they could have done, the builders. Instead of bringing the floor sheathing, the 2x6 it looks like, tongue and groove, instead of bringing it over the edge of the fascia board or sitting it on top of the fascia board, they could have actually raised the fascia board to the top of the floor. So instead of the 2x6 floor sheeting going over and sitting on top of the ledger, they would have actually raised the ledger up, and these boards would have actually been butting it. And of course this could have all been it's poor planning. That's pretty much what it is. It could have been, they could have raised this up because they didn't want to see the grooves. They didn't know that the metal was going to be 2 inches thick here, 2 inches wide. There could be a variety of different things. However, this right here is not something. It's an aesthetic problem. So visually, this shouldn't have happened. Architecturally, they wouldn't like this. If you're inspecting a property and you come across something like this, it is not going to be a structural issue most of the time. As a matter of fact, I really can't imagine how it could be a structural issue unless somehow you needed to have your floor sheathing nailed to the top of this for some type of a diaphragm nailing. So again, I don't want to get carried away here. This is a home inspection thing, not a home building site. I don't want to go into all the details and confuse anyone. So you run across something like this, the bottom line is it is not going to be a structural issue. Most of the time it's going to be an aesthetic issue. Could you fix something like this? Yeah, you could always just nail another board on the bottom of it and put a piece of trim here to cover it if you didn't want to do that. Or you could put some type of a design here. You could do a variety of different things to fix it. But that should sum it up. That's the reason why this lumber is like it is, the fascia board, and it's not hanging down like it should be. If I was going to blame anyone on this, who in the heck did this, more than likely it would have been the builder or the person who was building the deck giving the orders. So something like this should have had a larger board. So instead of a 2x10 or a 2x12, it should have went up one more size. 2x10, it should have been a 2x12. If it's a 2x12, then it should have been a 2x14.